Hello. Tonight we're not plunging into brutal battles or echoing royal decrees. Instead, you'll step into two opposite lives in the same medieval world. On one side, the king, resplendent in velvet, issuing commands with a single nod. On the other, the peasant, waking in the biting cold, working with calloused hands and silent courage. This is a story of distance, not just of power, but of life's true meaning. If these gentle, reflective history tales help you unwind, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and the time where you are. I'm curious how far these stories have journeyed before you drift off to sleep. Now, take a deep breath, turn off the lights, and let's begin our journey into two lives that shaped the world. One moment at a time. You open your eyes, not because of blinding light or a rooster's crow, nothing so noble. What drags you from sleep is pain, a steady ache, as if someone were tapping each vertebra with a wooden spoon. The straw mattress beneath you is no longer a mattress. It feels like an over-rolled pancake, thin, dry, musty with age, as though it served generations. And perhaps it has. You stir, and a cloud of straw dust drifts up, carrying a flavor you can't quite place. Part damp mildew, part small, furry creatures. You live in a hut. Live is generous. You barely survive in it. The tiny house, thatched and shivering at every gust like an old man with aching joints, has leaked since 2 winters ago. You know because of the drip into a tin bowl, the sound that replaced a clock in your life. Your wife lies curled away from you, wrapped in a patchwork wool blanket. Your 2 children sleep like kittens, knees to chests, bundled in ragged cloth. There's likely another family member, too. You hear tiny squeaks under the straw. Jerry, your unwanted bedfellow, a little mouse. No proper hearth, just a bed of cold ashes in the center of the hut, where flames once danced. Now only embers and half-burned logs remain. You exhale and watch your breath turn to mist. There's no chimney, just a hole in the roof for smoke to rise and rain to fall. 2 birds, 1 hole. You reach for the water bowl nearby. A thin sheet of ice cloaks its surface, as if nature is playing a cruel joke. You crack it. Crack, like bone breaking, and splash the water on your face. Bone-numbing cold, a painfully sharp awakening. You rise, stooping under the low ceiling. The coarse wool cloak you drape over your shoulders feels as cold as stone. You inhale, damp earth, stale smoke, and, yes, the sour cabbage from last night's supper, still in the pot. No alarm needed. Aching back, leaking roof, and rancid cabbage do that job. You push open the door, a rickety plank you've kicked 3 times each month, and step onto the wet earth courtyard. Dawn is early, but the village is awake. Cattle lowing, boots squelching in mud, a woman shouting at her husband for grabbing the wrong bucket. A normal day. You glance at the barn. No cow yet, but still your dream. One day, you think, I'll own a cow. But not this morning. You bend to gather wet kindling. Your hands go numb like wood, but you must kindle the fire. Otherwise, your family will eat cold gruel, a meal already lacking any warmth. You use your stash of dry straw, puffing like you're playing a horn. Your face burns, eyes water. Yet at last, the flame catches, weak, as though it too dreads this new day. Your wife rises. She says little, just gives you a sharp look when she spots the few beans you scattered on the straw last night. The children begin to cough, not so much from illness, but from the hut's smoke. That is how each new day starts. You grab the clay pot, pour in some rainwater, stir in the last spoonfuls of barley porridge, and set it over the fire. Breakfast is called porridge, yet it's more water than grain. You add a pinch of salt, if you have any, and, occasionally, a handful of dried onions. The children eat first, your wife eats next, you eat last, because you are the head of the household. That title comes with no privileges, just a chipped wooden spoon at your side. When you finish, you brush off your cloak, plant a gentle kiss on your child's head, glance at your wife, then heft the bucket and trudge to the well. The muddy path swallows each step, as if you're wading through memories. At the well, a crowd waits, everyone cold, everyone weary, yet all forcing a smile. You exchange a few words with a neighbor. You tell him about last night's mouse in your cloak. He tells you about bugs in his wife's blanket, a life rich in imagery. You carry the water home. Your shoulders ache, but you walk steadily, because if you slip, you'll spill both water and pride. The sun climbs higher. Pale light filters through ash-gray clouds. Your work-day begins. Perhaps you'll toil the fields. Perhaps you'll repair the roof. Or perhaps you'll stack firewood for a neighbor in exchange for beans. One task each day. One hope each task. No one records your name in history books. No one erects statues in your honor. No one pens poems about you. Yet you are the one who keeps the flame alive, even if it's a flicker within a humble hut on the village's fringe. When night falls, you lie again on the old straw. Your back still aches, mice still scurry, water still drips into the tin bowl with a steady drip, drip. But you hold your child. Your wife clasps your hand, and you close your eyes. Not because tomorrow will be better, but because you survived today. In a chaotic world, that is victory. And so you sleep, not fully, not deeply, but enough to dream of a morning without sour cabbage. You reach for your tunic, once a simple garment, now a map of time. Each patch tells a story, one stitched after an overzealous wash, another after a pig trampled it, another for sap that never washed out. The coarse fabric rubs against your skin, a reminder that luxury exists only in fairy tales. You slip your arms into the sleeves. You tug the rope cinched around your waist. The old leather belt gave its last battle last winter. Cracked leather, missing buckle, and nothing to hang from it but your wooden spoon. The rope needs no fancy knot, only enough tension to keep the tunic from billowing in the wind. Your feet meet the cold, packed earth. No sandals, no straw insoles, just hard ground and a fine layer of dust. Your old boots, once a source of pride, though half a size too small and with a hole large enough for your toe to wave hello, have been retired. The souls wore through to the soul. You once planned to keep them as an ash shovel, but their sorrowful look made you toss them away. Now you walk barefoot in winter, on ground as cold as a father's heart when his daughter insists she'll marry a potter for his soul. Your hut has no rooms. It is a single room. No windows, only tattered cloth hung unevenly to block gusts. When the wind howls, the fabric flaps like a warning drum. The hut's three furnishings are a bed of shared straw, a three-legged stool no one dares sit on, and a table made of two stones supporting a warped plank. Tools hang on the wall, a dull sickle, a cracked wooden mallet, and your priceless possession, a cast-iron pot. That pot has cooked everything: porridge, soup, wild greens, and once rabbit meat. During the year, a rabbit leapt into your trap. You glance at your wife. She remains lying there, her back to you, perhaps asleep, perhaps pretending. It's the silent language poor couples speak fluently, words unnecessary to know each other's thoughts or what each is avoiding. You do not wake her. There is no hurry. The sun has yet to rise. Breakfast is not yet cooking, and the day's work will not run away. Outside, your youngest coughs like a tiny horn. Not really a child anymore, 10 years old, yet already binding straw, cleaning the stall, and snapping broken tile to kindle flames. No complaints, just a cough, a sniffle, and back to grown-up work. In your village, childhood is measured not in years, but in the number of times a child's hands have been nicked by a sickle. Yours became an adult the moment it begged for more porridge, not for itself, but for its sibling. You do not say, "Good morning," nor call the child in. You both know morning began long ago. Only your bodies have just caught up. You bend for yesterday's hard bread, rock solid as stone. You once joked it could serve as a weapon, then laughed. Who robs sour bread? You soak the crust in cold water to soften it. The water smells of nothing. That, at least, is a small victory. You bite off a piece. Your teeth ache, yet you chew. Each morning, not because it's tasty, but because hunger waits for no emotion. Dawn breaks further. Pale light seeps through the cloth crack, illuminating the corner you haven't swept, where a spider's web lazily hangs. Or maybe you leave it. It takes nothing, stays silent, patient, and hungry, much like you. You listen. Footsteps sloshing through mud. A neighbor's tent flap opening. An old woman humming as she stokes her fire. It is the morning symphony of a village where none have much, yet all have reasons to rise. You set the remaining bread aside for your wife. You reach for your treasured iron pot, pour in last night's rainwater, and drop in a few surviving dried beans. You kindle the flame with dry straw, scrap wood, and torn cloth. The fire bursts to life with a crackle, exhaling smoke and memory. Of evenings huddled together, of children's hunger cries, and of a flicker of hope that someday the pot will hold more than water. You sit before the fire, crust in your mouth, listening to the child's cough, to your wife's turn in sleep, to the fire's crackle. And you know, Today will not be easy. Yet you sit tall, for to sit before a bright flame, even a small one, is an act of defiance against hunger, against cold, against oblivion. You are the common man, unwritten in history, unnamed on stone. But you live, you endure, you kindle the fire each morning, and sometimes that alone makes you stronger than any distant king. You step out of the hut on bare feet, caked in dust, cold as stone. Your breath turns to mist, thin as thread, drifting into the frigid air. The sun still hides behind gray clouds, as heavy as the mud beneath your feet. No golden light, no bird song greeting dawn, only wind whistling through the crooked fence, and the rumble of your stomach. Last night's bread was no match for the cold within. You lift your axe. Axe sounds grand, but it's just a chipped iron blade, lashed to a wooden haft with rope. The edge is so dull, you could check your reflection in its nick, if you had the leisure. But you don't. Today is like every day. Fire must start with wood. No wood, no fire. No fire, no porridge. No porridge. Well, you know. You sling the axe over your shoulder, step out of the yard. Each stride is a balancing act. Mud clings to your feet. Footprints sink deep, like messages from someone too busy to complain. The wind slaps your face, not strong enough to knock you down, but strong enough to remind you your tunic is no windbreaker. It only hides your poverty. You reach the familiar thicket. You're not allowed to fell trees, you know. Everyone knows. Yet everyone pretends not to, as long as you're not caught. You glance around, ears pricked like a cat alert to a tiger's approach. No one. Good. You stoop, gather broken branches left by last storm. Snapped limbs burn quickly. Green branches won't light. Rotten ones turn to ash. You tie sticks into bundles. 1 bundle, 2, your back aches. You hardly use the axe, just enough to make noise. So if someone comes, you can say, "Just sharpening my swing." Bundles on your shoulder, you turn to go. 1 step, 2, then you slip. Your rear hits the ground first. Wood and earth scatter. Mud splatters everywhere. You grit through clenched teeth, a soft curse, loud enough to hear, quiet enough to avoid divine wrath. You haul yourself up, brush mud from your face, rebind the bundles, and limp home. Near the hut, you spot the pig, standing in its pen, eyes telling you it's not too late to give up. You say nothing. You drop the wood by the door, exhale in relief. Part 1 done. Part 2, water. You grab 2 tin buckets, head for the stream at the village's edge. The path is a slick ribbon, footprints, chicken tracks, and things best left unknown. Stream water cuts like a blade, you know. You once washed your hands in it, mid-snowfall. Your hands went numb. You couldn't tell mud from blood. You stoop, dip each bucket, struggle to steady them as they fill with clinking water. 2 buckets, each as heavy as half the world. You brace your back, lift, begin the slow march home. Every step is a negotiation with your knees. Hold on, just a bit more. Your feet slip a few times, but you steady yourself. You're versed in near falls. Back at the hut, you pour water into the wooden trough by the hearth, some for drinking, some for cooking, the rest, if any remains, for washing or the pig. And you'll wash a bit with a rag. You once had a clean towel, white. Now it's the color of life. Water done, you eye the roof. Last night's rain has left thatch sagging, drip drip where it leaks. You climb up, carefully pry off rotted patches, replace them with straw you gathered last week. When the wind howls, the roof quivers as if ready to take flight. You once joked that, if lucky, it might carry your whole family to richer lands. Yet it stays put, steadfast, like you. You jump down, inspect the fence. A few boards lean askew. You brace them with stones. It's not pretty, but it holds. You don't need pretty, you need strong. Then you head to the pig pen, scoop the mash, pour it into the trough. The pig grunts, neither thanks nor complains. It is your silent companion, eats everything, never argues. A neighbor passes by, nods. You grunt back, not from dislike, but because you both know today is just another day. Nothing new, nothing groundbreaking. Yet you still live, still work. Not for love of labor, but because you have no other choice. Each task repeats, like a song you know by heart, though no one listens. You gaze at the sky, gray, thick as cold porridge. But you exhale, stand tall, stretch your shoulders. Your back aches, your hands go numb, but your heart still beats. You are alive. And for you, sometimes, that alone is enough. You are not awakened by barking dogs or the clatter of water buckets. You wake to a soft glow filtering through expensive silk drapes, and to the hushed breathing of servants trained to absolute silence, silence honed over years, as if they are the court's own mute ballet. No one calls you. You rise because you have slept enough. Such is a king's privilege. You have no alarm. You are the alarm. The world turns to the rhythm of your yawn. Your bed is fashioned from ancient oak, vast enough for three to lie without touching, if you so wished. The mattress is stuffed with white goose down, not wild geese, mind you, but those raised in your private gardens, petted each morning, serenaded nightly by harp music, named Clarence or Duchess. The crimson velvet sheets are hand-embroidered with golden thread, soft as a breeze, smooth as flattery. You stretch, no backache, of course. You do not sleep on straw. Your head rests upon 4 pillows, each fluffed by its own attendant. A servant slips in, bearing your monogrammed towel, not to wipe your brow, but to remind you that you matter so much even your linens bear your name. Next comes the dawn ritual. One draws back the drapes, another pours your wash water, a third presents the sable fur robe so supple you once suspected it was woven from clouds. A footman helps you into slippers as plush as spring grass, though you have never trod on real grass, for you are the king, and grass is for others to trample, not you. You rise, your feet sink silently into a carpet so thick you hear nothing but your own breath. Colored glass windows cast saints, dragons, and you upon the walls. One pane is dedicated solely to illuminating your face each morning, a daily reminder that you remain the handsomest man in the realm. While a servant offers fragrant wash water, a blend of lavender, rosemary, and a few drops of what they call goddess's tears, breakfast is served in bed. No cold gruel or rock-hard bread. Instead, warm honey cakes, soft-boiled eggs laid by carefully chosen hens, and a goblet of mild wine sweetened with fruit juice, the drink of royal intellect. You cannot recall the last time you tasted cold water, perhaps in some impoverished dream. A valet approaches, reciting your morning schedule like poetry. First, an audience with your advisor. He will speak at length. You need only nod with impeccable timing. Then, a parade review. Stand. Soldiers march by. They salute. You return the gesture. Today's council meeting is canceled. There may even be time to ride through the pleasure gardens. Your steed, of course, is no ordinary horse. It is named Steel Thunder, though truth be told, it is startled by mice. When you finish eating, someone wipes your mouth with a velvet cloth, not because you are lazy, but because a king must not show crumbs at his lips. Perhaps somewhere in the castle, nobles are donning finery, preparing to attend court. But you stroll leisurely, for no one dares rush a king. You walk down the long corridor. Every painting on the wall recounts your ancestors' deeds, or at least what the artist imagined. You pause before one depicting you raising a sword to slay a dragon. That dragon never existed, yet the image remains beautiful, and you smile, for you look truly majestic. The harp's soft strains greet you as you enter the royal wardrobe chamber. An entire team is devoted to your attire. Today's choice is emerald green and gilded gold. Both gracious and commanding, declares the royal designer. You spread your arms. They drape the robes upon you. Fasten each ivory button. Then place the crown atop your head, so heavy that you tilt ever so slightly, as if pondering the new tax policy. Ready at last, you step onto the balcony. Below lies the plaza, the people gathered, unaware of your late rise or long yawn. They see only sunlight glinting on your crown, and they cheer. A dove alights on the railing beside you. It shows no fear, as if it knows you are a ruler of peace, or perhaps it simply seeks breadcrumbs. You look down upon them, lives without velvet beds, without monogrammed linens, without scented water. Yet you were once like them, at least in distant dreams. You raise your hand, wave gently. The royal smile blooms, practiced before the mirror at least, hundreds of times. Then you turn, step back inside. It is time to sit upon the throne, to begin a day's reign, with fragrant tea, lengthy reports, and countless decisions. You may postpone until tomorrow. You do not dress yourself, not out of laziness, but because you are king. And a king does not stoop to pull on stockings or fasten buttons. A king merely stands, like a living statue, and lets the world handle the rest. A valet enters like a troupe of dancers. Each knows exactly where to stand, exactly how to breathe, exactly how far to stay, so as not to invade the divine body. One gently slips fine linen over your arms, a fabric said to be woven only by blind artisans who feel each thread with their fingertips. Whether true or not, it feels exquisitely soft. Next comes the golden embroidered robe, not imitation gold, but real gold thread, as fine as hair, as weighty as your duty. On deep crimson velvet, they stitch shields, lions, crowns, and perhaps even you riding a dragon, despite your fear of horses. The robe stretches nearly 6 feet, long enough to sweep the corridor if no one lifted its train. Fortunately, you employ a royal train lifter, a peculiar title, but a real job, with a salary comfortable enough, so long as the cloak never falls. Then the snug breeches, dyed a rich navy, the color of power, of the sea, of dye more costly than gold. This indigo traveled through 4 kingdoms, paid taxes thrice, survived 1 pirate raid, only to grace your noble legs. You may move little, but the fit must be perfect, must convey the solemnity of the throne. Your valet speaks only when spoken to, and even then bows low, whispers as if afraid to break a breeze. Another enters with a jeweled belt, not to hold your breeches, but to hold your image. Then comes the sable-lined cloak, white as clouds, scented like cedar, priced like half a castle. Each garment you don proclaims, "I am the most powerful here," before I utter a single word. Next is your favorite moment, the hair brushing, not out of vanity, but for that pure serenity. An ivory comb glides through each lock, neither hurried nor slow, a ritual of the spirit. They mist your hair with rose water, distilled from a bloom that flowers but once a year. The scent is sweet, regal, and, faintly like biscuits, yet infinitely more refined. Then comes the beard. Oh yes, that beard, tended like a national treasure. One attendant trims it, another holds the mirror. You need only tip your chin, and a silver mirror rises to the perfect angle. In its reflection, you see a face no longer youthful, but commanding. There is something in your eyes, a hidden weariness, wisdom etched in crow's feet. You appear pale, but fret not. They will brush your cheeks with natural powder from southern bark, not for beauty, but for royal bearing. Even your hands receive meticulous care. Almond oil is massaged into each knuckle, each joint smoothed, because a king's hands must never crack. A king must shake hands, and those hands must speak of strength, of control. You raise your hand, admire palms as soft as if they've never labored, for indeed they have not. You have never reaped grain, never drawn water, never hauled a cart, and no one dares expect you to. Lastly, the boots, crafted from young goat leather, tailored precisely to your feet, so supple they fold in half, never touching mud, never crossing the fish market, never hearing pebbles scrape. Those boots tread upon carpets, upon stone floors, and sometimes upon hearts. As you slip them on, one servant kneels to fasten the laces, another stands ready with your outer cloak. Every movement flows seamlessly, as though you star in a play yet need not learn a single line. Each action is ritual. Who may touch you? Who may speak first? Who may stand how close? All are ordained. A misstep off the beat is offense. A single misspoken word costs one's head in the near literal sense. No one in the chamber laughs, but you know their thoughts. Today, you are flawless. Not because you are handsome, but because you were fashioned as an icon. You settle onto the chair by the hearth, clothes donned, feeling as though you have already lived a full day. Yet in truth, you have only prepared to appear. Every gaze waits for you beyond the door, not out of love, but because you are the portrait the world demands, a symbol to revere, proof that order still reigns. You glance into the mirror once more. The man reflected is not you, but what you must become, a king. Garments are not mere coverings. They transform you into legend. And so you rise, draw a breath, step from the room. Another day begins, not with a rooster's crow, but with the palace bells. Not because it is work time, but because it is the hour. The world must behold you. You return to the hut. You step inside like a soldier fresh from battle, though your battlefield is one of mud, cold, and damp wood. No one greets you, nor do you expect it. Everyone knows this hour is breakfast time, or more precisely, the momentary gap between yesterday's hunger and today's. You crouch, blow on the stubborn embers left from last night, those coals as stubborn as you, still warm, not yet ready to die. You set the clay pot on the hearth, its rim chipped since last winter, yet still serviceable. Simply turn the cracked side away so you needn't see it. Inside, settled stream water, barley grains still mixed with hulls, and a pinch of salt, if luck favors you. You stir, watch the pasty gray mass bubble up into a shapeless lump. It's not called porridge for its flavor, but for its function. It fills the belly, though no one ever claims it satisfies the palate. You ladle into 3 bowls, one wooden with a chipped rim, one cracked at the base, bound by copper wire, and the last, half a coconut shell. A black rye loaf sits on the table like an ancient stone, dark, hard, dust-coated. You break off a piece, hear the crack, as if snapping a dry twig. Too tough to eat alone, you dip it into the porridge. It does not soften, but at least spares you another broken tooth. You eat slowly, not to savor, but because your teeth no longer move swiftly. Over the years, stray grit in the bread has silently worn down your enamel, like a stream eroding rock. Biting a large pebble spells a day of misery or a missing tooth. You chew carefully, count each swallow, as if conserving motion for the life ahead. Your children, one bent over to tend the fire outside, the other inside, coughing like an old man, sit waiting. The younger lad scoops porridge, sips each small spoonful, red-eyed yet silent. He has learned that here, pain is no excuse to stop. He finishes half a bowl, clutches his belly, stifles his cough between spoonfuls. Your wife, makeup gone, hair unkempt, patched tunic, takes a sip of thin beer. Not the tavern brew, but kitchen brewed from leftover malt and cloudy water. It smells no sweeter, offers no chill, yet, at least, does not kill you like stream water. Its bitterness clings to your tongue, chasing away the smoked tang in your throat. No one speaks. Breakfast passes in silence, not from anger, but because there is nothing to say. Life here brings no news. Everything repeats: wood, water, porridge, cold, and silence. The only true story is who lives until tomorrow. They say silence is golden. Here, silence is normal. Only when you hear a sound, a wheel, a horse, or worse, the clank of nailed boots, do you know something truly fearful approaches. Silence means no one was caught, no taxes were enforced, no one died overnight. You glance at the ceiling, still the same tattered thatch, with a sliver of light piercing the crack, landing on the table, falling across the gray porridge. In that beam, the porridge seems almost alive. But no, it remains merely water and barley. No meat, no milk. The cow died last autumn. Cheese? Ah, that is a summer dream. When grass grew, milk flowed, and hope was not just a word. You turn to your wife. Her gaze does not find you, but looks through you, beyond, to memories of long hair, lullabies sung by her mother, the scent of sweet cakes at festivals. Now those cakes are legend. The only scent here is smoke. You set down your spoon, nothing left to eat. The wooden bowl tips, revealing the congealed porridge stuck to its base, cold, gummy as resin. The little one coughs again, a long rattling fit. You have no more words of comfort. The elder child meets your eyes, asks nothing, knowing the answer already. No medicine, no healer, nothing but waiting, waiting for the child to recover, or not. The crackling fire is the only living sound in the small hut. You sit there, motionless, as part of a medieval painting, a silent man, watching smoke rise from an empty porridge bowl. There it is, your breakfast. A meal not to enjoy, but to endure. Yet you remain here. You still have your teeth. You still have your family. And you still have an evening to anticipate, where you will lie down, forget the coughs, forget the rock-hard bread, and listen only to the dying fire's whisper in the night. You have survived another breakfast, and as any day in history, this too is victory. Within the palace, breakfast is not for eating, it is for audience. You enter the great dining hall. Sunlight pours through stained glass panes, dancing across a table so long it takes 3 servants to lay out the dishes without colliding. You do not hurry, because you are king, and because the meal will stay warm. Silver plates atop beeswax candles have been arranged for continuous reheating. You step in, and everyone is ready, not to eat, but to watch you. Chew. Your chair stands apart, high-backed, armrests carved with lions, a sable fur cushion beneath your feet. Not for your comfort, but to lift you ever so slightly above the rest. Just enough to remind all who wields real power at this seemingly harmless breakfast. On the table lie dishes you did not order, yet have been chosen with utmost care. Center stage. A loaf of pristine white manchette bread. Royal privilege alone may taste it, its flour sifted thrice through Venetian silk. Baked in a private oven by a chef bearing a royal warrant. Yes, a title, one that can be revoked if the loaf fails to rise evenly. Beside it, eggs boiled to perfect doneness, sprinkled with rosemary leaves, pink salt from a distant quarry, not for flavor, but for hue. There are venison sausages, not the market kind, but from a stag raised in the royal forest, fed on rare mushrooms, sun-bathed at scheduled hours so its meat remains tender, not tight. Imported figs garnish a small dish, sliced with such precision you suspect someone measured each one before cutting. Nearby, a wheel of soft golden cheese, drizzled with just enough honey, not to consume all, but to present a flawless culinary tableau. You touch nothing at first. Instead comes the taster. He emerges from behind a marble column, bows, samples each offering in a single bite, then awaits. No one speaks, yet all watch his expression as if reading a spell. Should he grimace, you would summon the physician. Should he collapse, you would call the sorcerer. But this morning, he chews thoughtfully, swallows, then stands firm. All is well. You signal with the slightest finger twitch, and the world stirs. You lift the silver knife, not for defense, you have guards, but because silver never tarnishes when cutting boiled eggs, a fact once explained by an alchemist, though you forgot the rest because you were weary that day. You slice cleanly. The yolk spills golden and steaming. You cut more bread, dunk it in cheese, then chew. You do not eat for hunger. You eat because it is the ritual of rule. You chew slowly, your face unreadable. Each swallow conveys, I am content. The realm remains at peace. The chamberlain stands 3 paces away, begins the morning report, not from newspapers, for none exist, but from letters recently ciphered, summarized, and passed through 3 scribes to avoid royal misspellings. He reads aloud, clearly. This morning, the southern wheat began to head. Harvest is projected 3 days early. You nod, not out of love for wheat, but because busy subjects have little leisure for rebellion. A knight from the west requests pardon for his son, arrested for riding his horse into the cathedral. You furrow your brow, not in anger, but at the absurd notion of horseplay in a church. Yet you do not reply. A response will be drafted, sealed with your signet, perhaps tomorrow or next week, at your whim. Music drifts through the hall, gentle, like a breeze carrying scents from the royal gardens. A harpist plucks strings, a privilege reserved for those who decide next year's taxes. His fingers dance. Sunlight from the windows glints on the strings like golden threads. You sip the fragrant water, not plain water, but rose and lemon infusion, filtered through silk. The sweetness is subtle, never harsh, just enough to help you forget that this afternoon you must hunt. Ah, yes, the hunt. The moment you'll leave the palace, mount your steed, don your fur-lined cloak, and display your strength. But for now, there is no need to think of it. Breakfast exists to postpone duties for a few precious minutes. You chew the venison sausage, tender, richly flavored, with a kick of pepper. Perhaps today you will praise the chef, or not. Sometimes, keeping them anxious makes the meal taste even better. Your servant waits for your signal. No one dares speak. No one dares touch the dishes. Only you eat while they observe. You swallow the final bite, set down your knife. A slow nod, and the world moves again. The plates are cleared in perfect silence. No clatter, no stray footsteps. The servants withdraw like courteous shadows, leaving you alone by the window where sunlight grazes your shoulder. You say nothing. Breakfast is over. Everyone exhales. They see you alive, eating, nodding. And thus, the empire endures. Your clothes, those of a medieval peasant, are not a fashion statement. They are a blunt declaration. I am alive, barely. A coarse wool tunic, its original hue long lost. Perhaps it began as light brown, now bloomed into wet earth mixed with hearth smoke and the stains of time. One shoulder droops, the sleeves fray. The hem is patched with whatever you could find, old canvas, fragments of a grain sack. Once, a scrap torn from your horse's blanket. The linen shirt beneath was meant for warmth, yet the cold has grown such that another rag won't help. Today you forgo it, for at this chill, even tatters offer no comfort. Your woolen hose has sagged to your ankles, one heel torn away entirely. With each step, skin meets wooden clog, meets dirt, returns to clog, a solemn dance between man and hardship. Shoes, if you call them that, are two rough-hewn planks pierced for cord, clacking against the ground at every stride. That sound is both the sole proof you walk this earth, and a small lament whispered into the damp dawn air. Each footfall composes a wood and mist symphony, not melodic, but honest. Your belt? It was once leather, a gift from your father's estate. Now it decayed, crumbled to dust when you yanked too hard last week. In its place, rope, cut from the bale binder's coil, cinched about your waist. It is neither handsome nor comfortable, yet it keeps your tunic from billowing through cracks. Lice, unbidden house guests, live with you, dine with you, slumber with you, caring nothing whether you mind. One ambles across your sleeve, you brush it away without anger, without thought, like inhaling hearth smoke, merely part of the day. No one in the village complains of lice, unless they multiply so fiercely they shave their heads. Your wife fares no better. She wears a thick wool dress, once her sister's wedding gown, cut down, refashioned many times, laden now with ancestral weight. On her head, a faded kerchief to keep her warm, to conceal unruly hair, to ward off falling ash. That scarf is laundered only when rains relent. Water is too scarce for separate loads. Cold wind snakes through her neckline. She hunches her shoulders, silent as each morning demands. And the children? They wear no proper garments, only rags. Layers upon layers of scraps so numerous you can't discern the first layer anymore. The youngest wobbles, toes peeking from cloth like a peeled tuber. The older binds thorny vine to sling a tattered tunic from shoulder to hip, resembling a hero's cloak in the gloom if you squint. Another boasts trousers. In truth, repurposed coat sleeves sewn into two tubes. None dress to impress. They dress to survive. Their clothes are not for style, but for braving biting winds, soaking rains, clinging mud, and some nights, invading rats. No hats. Wool caps are too costly. Straw hats soggy by dawn. Instead, you wrap a rag about your head. Your handkerchief, your cap, your nose wiper, you need it always. Winter turns nostrils into leaking gutters. Where do you hang these garments? There is no chest. They hang from a beam above the hearth, not to prevent wrinkles, but to keep rats at bay. Beneath, a tattered basket holding dry hose, half-lost clogs, and a tunic burned through the sleeve, an echo of the night you fell asleep beside the dying embers. Yet somehow, you have grown accustomed. Each layer, each patch, every stray thread tells a story of the harsh winter when you cut down your door flap to clothe your child, or when you stitched a hole with cactus spine, only to dissolve the thorn in tears. You are not so poor as to have nothing. You are poor enough to remember every scrap you own, and why it remains. Your clothes did not come from market. They came from worry, endurance, and the mercy of avoiding last night's wild dogs. Outsiders see only dust, disrepair, tatters. But you know, every tear is a survival, every rag a fragment of liberty in a world where only kings may don royal blue, while you, content to not freeze in your sleep, hold true luxury. In the palace, your clothing is more than mere fabric. It is a proclamation, a living portrait assembled each morning by 12 skilled hands. When the valet opens your chamber door, the amber glow of oil lamps reflects off towering shelves, where each garment lies arranged like a sacred relic. First comes the linen shirt, so soft that even clouds might envy it. The valet lifts it with both hands, as if placing a silk bust upon your shoulders. The sleeves end just at your wrists, enough to reveal skin unkissed by sun, because you, of course, never tend gardens. Next, the deep green breeches. No one in the realm may wear this hue without a royal warrant. Woven from imported thread, dyed with eastern indigo. Each seam measured to hug your form, as though your body were the standard for courtly fashion. Then, the crimson velvet coat, red as aged wine, glowing in candlelight. Its lining of white sable fur is soft and warm like spring's embrace locked inside winter. Every stitch is hand-sewn by tailors who whisper as they work, lest they disturb the fabric's silence. The buttons are not metal, but polished bone, engraved with patterns so fine you need a lens to discern them. They serve not to fasten. Your valet handles that, but to announce to the world, I own something whose sole purpose is to show who I am. At your waist, a silk sash embroidered with the royal crest encircles you. The threads never fade, ground from precious stone, mixed with rare Mediterranean oil. They say that if you pulled out a single thread, the entire garment would unravel, cloth existing only by the power of your emblem. On your feet, supple kid leather boots, custom made by a venerable shoemaker who served 3 generations of kings. They have never known mud, for you never cross the courtyard without a carpet. The soles, too, are kid leather, so soft that the craftsman wept when he cut the first seam, as if slicing into the very soul of luxury. On your hand rests a ring of jade, not 1, but 5, 1 for each finger. One comes from a failed expedition, the only spoil left beyond wounded pride. Another forged from gold drawn from southern tax coffers, heavy on your finger, heavier still in the eyes of your subjects. Upon your head, a silver hairpin set with amethyst from lands your armies never trod, but your merchants reached by sea 8 years past. Each article you don proclaims a story, who you are, what you can do, and how none may challenge you. Silk from Byzantium, where it was woven by those forbidden to speak while they worked. Pigment from the East, extracted from a single bark, gathered at dawn by unmarried maidens. A faint dusting of spice on your coat, to smell of power, priced higher by the gram than gold itself. With each step, the stone floor emits only a whisper, because your valet has strewn dried moss along the path to spare you any rude noise. You inhale, the air rich with incense, eucalyptus, and reverence. A valet bows, murmuring, "Your Majesty looks resplendent." You offer no reply, not from pride, but because none is needed. Your clothes speak for you. From afar, bells toll, not to summon you, but to announce your impending appearance. A symbol prepares to step forth. Not a man, subject to hunger, cold, or illness, but a flesh and blood embodiment of power, embroidered, tailored, booted, adorned with 7 gems, and never, never wearing the same outfit 2 days running. You smile, not in joy, but because today is a festival. And you wear red, the color of royalty, of blood, of sunrise through cathedral glass, the hue that compels every dissenter to bow. And if anyone asks, "Does the garment make the man?" you will not answer. You will simply walk on and let the soft echo of your leather boots reply for you. Your day does not begin with bells or the warm glow of stained glass. It begins with mud and sweat. You wake while the sky is still the color of slaked lime. Step onto the icy wooden floor where your clogs have waited since last night, clacking, awaiting your footfall like an old friend who never leaves. You have no time for good mornings, and no one to speak to. The first task is feeding the pigs. They give no thanks, no wagging tails, only snorts as they scramble for crumbs of bread, for dried turnip slices left from yesterday. You pour the feed into the trough, then step back, lest they nip your hand if you're a beat too slow. Next, you gather firewood. Your hands grip brittle branches, prickled by thorns, flecked with dried dung. No sorting allowed. Wood is wood. Cold is cold. You carry the water bucket from the creek behind the village. The path so slick each step pulls you a little deeper into the mire. The buckets grow heavy. Rust bites at their seams. Your shoulders ache. And that is just the warm-up. Today you labor on the Lord's land, feudal duty, a pretty term for unpaid work. No wages, no extra rations. If you're lucky, you might earn a nod from a passing steward on horseback. Once, never again. Your task today is spreading manure. Not poetic, all too real. Horse droppings, cow dung, human waste. You shovel it up, scatter it across the frozen fields in thick patches like scorched bread crust. Each strike of the spade makes your wrist tremble, the earth harder than wood. Each splash of muck soils your already ashed-over coat. You bend, straighten, bend again. Beside you, others who look as you do, farmers with calloused hands, faces cracked by wind. No one speaks, not from hatred, but from exhaustion. You think of your own small plot, where you grow vegetables, where your wife grows beans, where your child took first wobbly steps. That land lies parched, withered, fallow. Yet you dare not touch it until the Lord's work is done. Law is law. Lord first, family second. If you argue, no one listens, for you hold no voice in the castle. The sun climbs overhead, not because you watch, but because your shadow shortens. Noon arrives. Rest is not a right, it is a survival strategy. You find a dry stone, if yesterday's rain spared it, and sit. Mud cakes your knees. Your hands bleed from thorn scratches this morning. You do not glance at the wound. You break off a piece of rock-hard bread, so dry that, hurled at someone, it could break a tooth. Beside the bread lies a cold boiled turnip from last night. It tastes neither good nor bad. It just exists. You chew, not for pleasure, but because you need strength. You chew slowly as if chewing the entire day ahead. Your gaze drifts to the empty field, because it is the only place with no dung in sight. No one speaks, only the sounds of chewing, of breathing, and occasionally the crack of joints as someone stretches after 3 hours bent over. You exhale, a vaporous plume that vanishes. Winter asks no permission, it simply comes, and you carry on. Because the afternoon is still long, because the fields remain, because no one else will do your work, and because if you stop, your wife will have nothing to put in the pot, your child nothing to eat, and you no reason to rise tomorrow morning. So you stand, bend to pick up the spade, fling mud from your clog heels, and step forward, not because you are strong, but because you have no choice. This is not iron will. It is a habit forged by weather, by law, and by hunger. You survive, unacknowledged, uncelebrated, with no trumpets, no audience, only earth. And your hands, shoveling dung, spreading it across the soil, nourishing a harvest you may never taste. Yet you persist. For this is a farmer's life. No crown, no cloak, only mud, sweat, and perhaps a nod if luck smiles your way. You sit upon the throne, not a mere chair, but a political statement, high-backed, rigid, set atop a polished stone dais, worn smooth by countless prostrations. Above you rests the emblem of sovereignty. At your side, the scepter. Around you, courtiers who never smile without permission. The great hall unfolds before you. Its vaulted ceiling soars, your voice echoing. Light slips quietly through stained glass, tinting the stone floor with the red of victory and the green of hope. Two hues every king must learn to balance. Today is an audience day, or, less romantically, a day to address headaches. A noble enters, his cloak rustles, his hair gleams, his head bows lower than necessary. He seeks permission to build a factory on the riverlands. You do not ask why, you already know. More revenue, fewer poor, greater influence. Yet those lands yield grapes for the wine used in your diplomatic rites. Grant his wish, and you favor the noble. Deny, and you preserve the realm's brand. A thorny choice, but you need not decide this instant. You nod, regally vague, beautifully non-committal. Next comes a bishop, his tone steady, his gaze distant, as though perceiving heresy in the void. A band of farmers has prayed facing the wrong way, lit blue candles, sung hymns absent from any scripture. You listen. You nod. You do not ask if their songs please you, for laughter is forbidden. You turn your gaze to your advisors. Let them debate for an hour. You will only intervene if someone actually burns a church. Otherwise, let the church resolve its own theological disputes. Then a messenger arrives, sweat darkening his tunic, boots caked in mud, hair plastered to his head in haste. Word from the western border, a lord is mustering troops, not outright rebellion, yet far from peace. You breathe softly, not from fear, but knowing war will disrupt the harvest. You bid the messenger sit, offer water, then order the mobilization delayed until after the season. No harvest, no taxes, no taxes, no army. No army. And this throne becomes but a gilded seat. Your task is rule, not brandishing swords, not riding horses, but sitting, listening, signing, and signing again. Enact this edict, repeal that statute, raise the salt tax, lower the wine tax, then reverse course when the people protest too loudly. With a single stroke of ink, you shape thousands of lives, each flourish bearing unseen weight, felt only by you. Today, you must also review marriage alliances. A 14-year-old princess from the north seeks to wed your nephew. This is not about love. It is about land. Consent, and you secure an ally in the mountains, blocking northern invaders. Refuse, and come winter you may need 2 more fortresses. You weigh the matter. You say not, I require time, but fall silent. In court, that silence signifies, I am calculating, and no one dares rush a calculating king. Even the banquet serves politics. As you enter the great feast, hundreds of eyes track your every move, not for your gold-embroidered cloak nor your crown heavy on someone else's shoulder, but because each gesture carries meaning. You wield your knife with your left hand, perhaps signaling favor toward the southern faction. You taste the fish first, indicating you prioritize the coastal provinces. You raise your cup to toast a young count, confirming him as heir to the vacant domain. Everything is politics, even the rhythm of your chewing, delay by a heartbeat, and doubt is presumed. You read letters, not one, but 30, each sealed in wax of different hue. The church's red, the merchant's blue, the black of a veiled threat. You read silently, then take up your pen, sometimes signing, sometimes not. Sign, and people live. Withhold your sign, and people die. Yet you cannot sign them all. True rulership lies in knowing whose life to save first. Music drifts, harp, flute, occasionally soaring voices of wandering minstrels of your choosing. Yet even the music is a test, for seated beside you is the ambassador of a neighboring realm, his gaze lingering only when the melody reaches its final note. You know this to be a trial, to see if you betray emotion. A king must not show too clear a preference. You sip your wine, a small draught. No smile, no headshake, only silence as solid as stone. That is the highest expression of feeling. You possess everything, but no one cares if you tire. Does anyone inquire if you slept well? No. Do they pause when you cough? No. They watch you as though you were a statue that can sign documents, eat, grant favors, enforce punishments. Each passing day you remain unsoiled by mud, unscarred by work. Yet you are stripped of freedom layer by layer, like ceremonial robes, until only one image remains, the king. You sit there, upon the throne, bathed in brilliant light, and you dare not blink too long. Cleanliness, to you, is a luxury so distant that it's not even a goal. It is a beautiful dream, but one you awoke from long ago. Each morning, you stoop beside the bucket of gray water, once a clear spring, now mixed with mud, algae, and likely things you'd rather not name. You scoop it up, splash it across your face. The cold stings so sharply your skin numbs, no less than a slap of stone. Yet you call it washing. No soap. Soap is as rare as gold, prized like a laying hen. You hear of soap only at great festivals, when the last sheep's fat is rendered with ash and lime, prayers whispered that it might not explode. A month later, the wealthy use it once, to wash hands. You wipe yours on your tunic, quicker still. Your clothes were once cloth, once had color. Now they are merely layers of mud, torn, patched with scraps from older rips. Your hair clumps, not from styling gel, but from sweat, earth, and last night's supper you never washed away. Your nails are black as if you dug in the soil with bare fingers, and indeed you have. A bath? Ah, that concept is poetic. You call it pouring cold water a few times a year, choosing the day by two factors, the sun and guilt. When both align, you bravely step behind the hut, ladle frigid water over yourself, shiver as though death himself has smiled, then declare yourself clean. No one complains. In fact, frequent bathing would spark rumors of illness. A toilet? No gilded seat, no quiet closing lid. Just a pit behind the hut, hidden by ragged cloth, or, if you're lazy, a bush near the pigsty. In summer, flies. In winter, ice. Sitting down is an act of courage. No paper, only leaves. When you emerge, it is as if you've returned from battle. Your teeth, once white, perhaps, now stained by old tea, cold porridge, and hurried meals. One tooth wobbles. It trembles when you smile, protests when you bite hard bread, as if ready to surrender. Yet, you do not pull it. Not for fear, but for lack of rope and strong liquor, two essentials for any impromptu tooth extraction in the Middle Ages. You sometimes chew mint leaves, if you find them, not to freshen breath, but to dull the ache. Illness lurks like a curious neighbor, always waiting for you at your weakest to knock on your door. A 3-day cough can turn to fever, then to bed-bound sickness, then never rising again. A boil on your neck? Do not touch it. If it festers, you may need to lance it with a kitchen knife. No antibiotics, only hope. And hope, in your village, ran out last winter. You wear a necklace of dried herbs, not for beauty, but to ward off evil. Some say that binding enough sage around your neck will keep fevers at bay. You are skeptical, yet you do not object. Better safe with superstition than naked to misfortune. And your smell? It is the scent of labor, earth, hearth smoke, animal hair, and you yourself after 6 days in the same dirtied garments. That scent clings to skin, to hair, to dreams. Yet no one complains, because everyone around you smells the same. You do not stand out. You merely blend. Like your ancestors, like your neighbors, like the one who will follow you upon these muddy fields. You feel no shame. You cast no complaints. For you know not the meaning of long-lasting freshness or deep cleanliness. To you, living means not shivering in the cold, not being gored into a dung pit, and waking tomorrow with all your teeth intact. You need no tiled bath, you have your wooden bucket. No luxury towels, you have your sleeve. At night, you lie upon your straw bed. No, your straw heap shaped like a bed. You rest your hand on your brow, the scent of dry grass mingling with your own. And you sigh. Not a sorrowful sigh, just a breath to breathe. And when your eyes close, you do not dream of hot water or spotless privies. You only hope that, come morning, when you wash your face with gray water, the air will not be too cold, and your teeth will still hold firm. Cleanliness, for you, a king, is not a choice. It is a ritual, a daily performance, never by your own hands, but by the careful touch of others. At dawn, while your eyes still flutter, a valet bows into your chamber, bearing a copper basin of just warmed water. Rose petals float atop, exuding a gentle fragrance, as if the entire herb garden whispers in the rising steam. A soft linen cloth is dipped, carefully wrung, then drawn across your face. No scrubbing, no hurry, only fluid, dance-like motions that both cleanse and honor. You open your eyes, not because you need to wake, but because it is time for others to begin your day. In your private quarters, a white oak bath is prepared, lined with hand-embroidered linen, its water infused with citrus essential oils from southern lands you will never visit. Castile soap is presented, a small cake more precious than gold to the common folk, lathered and fragrant. The valet bathes you, washing each finger, each vertebra, while you sit still, eyes fixed on the ceiling. You need not lift a hand, only breathe, and sometimes that alone is enough. After being patted dry with a thick woolen towel, your skin is anointed with almond oil. The valet's hand glides from your wrists to your elbows, from nape to crown. Each stroke is measured, not only to keep your skin supple, but to remind you that, though king, you remain human, and must not crack in the harsh winter. Your hair is combed, each lock gently separated, then smoothed into place with an ivory comb. Your nails are examined, neatly trimmed, for a king should never bear dirt beneath his claws, even if he never set foot on soil. Should a small swelling appear on a finger, your personal physician is summoned, frowns, then suggests the usual remedy: let a little blood. Bad humors must be drawn out to restore balance. That theory has never been questioned, for you are king, and the advisor wears the robe of the Royal Medical Academy. Leeches are brought forth, each housed in a glass vial, crawling slowly like tiny surgeons. You do not watch. They are placed on your hand, your wrist, your calf, and you feel the cold suction. Strangely, you feel lighter, or perhaps you simply convince yourself of that. Next comes your mouth. No toothpaste, but a linen cloth soaked in diluted apple cider vinegar, gently rubbed across your teeth. The vinegar's tang revives you. Then you rinse with the perfumed bucket water, gray-silver, yet pleasingly scented, as if a forest has been steeped within you. You know illness ever circles, fevers, rashes, stomach pains unexplained. But you possess medicine. You have a private doctor, priests to chant protective prayers, incense burners to ward away evil at your bedside. You wear talismans of gold. You carry counsel recorded in ink and sealed with red wax. Nothing makes you immortal, yet all measures are tried, so that you may live to see another dawn. Cleanliness, for you, is not merely a state. It is a symbol of power. The dividing line between you, the ruler of a kingdom, and the thousands washing their faces in river water. Each time you wipe your hand, someone bows to offer a towel. Each time you step upon a spotless dais, someone has scrubbed that marble on bended knee. Even the scents you wear, almond oil, citrus soap, sage leaf, form part of your invisible crown. Yet that cleanliness is not yours. It is the product of others' hands, hands that tend you, prepare you, preserve you as though you were a living relic. You sit there, your face cleansed each morning, your skin nourished each night, like a statue buffed for display in your own court. Sometimes you wonder, if all those valets vanished, would you still smell of rose and sage? Or would you stand alone in the cold chamber, bearing only the scent of your true self? But then, gentle music drifts from the corridor. Another attendant arrives to announce that the new day has begun. Petitions await your judgment. Letters need your seal. A banquet seating must be arranged. You rise, still immaculate, still fragrant, still king. and the ceremony begins anew. Entertainment for you, a 13th century peasant, is not scheduled, nor ticketed. There are no theaters, no cinemas, no TikTok to scroll before nodding off. Entertainment arrives slowly, quietly, like an unexpected gift amid mud and toil. And when it comes, you savor every bit, not as luxury, but as rarity. After a long day of shoveling manure, hauling water, gathering stones, and being trampled by pigs at least twice, you sit by the fire. Damp logs hiss, smoke threads through the thatch's holes, yet you scarcely notice. You pull your tattered wool cloak tighter, then begin to tell stories. No books, only memory and imagination. Folks gather round, small wooden bowls half filled with porridge, half with hope, eyes glinting in the firelight. You speak of a saint who passed through the village, healing chickens with a single twig, or of a dragon in the northern woods, stealing laundry and leaving eggs in exchange. Some nights you invent tales of the neighboring hamlet, where everyone wears their trousers backward, believing it wards off winter's flu. Soft laughter ripples, tentative, as if afraid to wake God beneath the clouds. You do not spin good tales, you spin true ones, so true that even you cannot tell where your imagination ends and the old stories your grandfather told one bitter winter begin. On freer evenings, you might break into song, not romantic ballads, not church hymns, but bawdy ditties, short, cyclic, with a simple, steady beat like an ox hauling a cart. A tune about the egg-seller neighbor whose rear was pecked by her own hen, or the blacksmith bitten by his mare in an unmentionable place. Each verse offers respite from gnawing hunger, from bone-chilling cold. And strangely, when the whole group laughs together, even the frost seems to retreat a little. The festival is the pinnacle, as if the entire year leads to that moment. Not a lavish mask of velvet robes and silver flutes, but a gathering where you sip sour ale thinned with spring water, dance barefoot in mud, and shout without fear of conscription for offending a noble ear. You don your best tunic, that is, the one with the fewest holes, drag your wife and child along, and for a fleeting moment you are no longer serf. You are reveler. There is little food, but the scent of roasting meat. A plump pig spins in the yard, its crackling skin, fat sizzling, and mouths water in time with the drum beats. You snatch a rib, meager flesh, but rich with smoke. You chew it as though indulging in a rare dream. Children outshine the elders. They dance, paint their faces with ash and flour, then contest at tossing turnips. Whoever hurls theirs highest earns the right to half the root. One lad shoves a turnip into his cap, dashes about like the turnip king. You watch your child beam, face smudged, and you laugh, so hard your belly aches. Once you laughed until you spat out a mouthful of sour ale, yet you remember that night as the year's brightest. The games are simple. No rule books, no fancy gear. You chase a goose across the yard. Try to catch it before it flaps away. A goose is no gentle creature. It will peck you if you come too close. Yet if you grasp its tail before face-planting in the mud, you win. The prize? Perhaps an onion, perhaps a wife's tap on the shoulder. Another sport is wrestling in the mire, two grown men slipping in the waterlogged earth, wrestling like overfed hogs. No wagers, no scorekeeping. The one who laughs most wins. Sometimes, fortune brings a traveling entertainer, a long-bearded stranger with an ancient lyre, stopping at your village. He mounts a crate, bellows, then swallows fire, or juggles knives, or manipulates ragged puppets with deft hands. You stand entranced, children gape, eyes unblinking. No one has coin for him, yet everyone contributes a tuber, an apple, or a crust of stale bread. You sip your sour ale, unpleasant yet warming. It helps you forget aching back, tired legs, and the pungent scent of your neighbor's feet. It makes you laugh. And sometimes, a single laugh on a Saturday night is all you need to endure the week ahead. When night falls, when the songs fade, when turnips cease soaring through the air, you return to your hut, a patchwork of cloth you call home. You lie down on your straw bed, pull up a thin blanket, and in your mind echo the laughter, the chaos of the goose, and stories of the dragon that steals laundry. And you sleep. For you, that is the rarest gift. A night filled with laughter, with turnips, with fire eaters, and no pigs trampling your feet. You are king, and entertainment is an indispensable part of your schedule, not because you need it, but because the realm expects you to enjoy it. For when the king laughs, the world must laugh with him, and if the king is bored, a few heads might roll. No one says so aloud, yet everyone understands. Your morning begins with music, not an alarm bell, but a musician plucking a harp beneath your chamber window. The melody drifts softly, as if nature itself were scored to match your mood. You do not smile. You have heard that tune 3 mornings in a row. So you merely lift a hand, one small gesture, and the musician immediately shifts to a new piece, still gentle, but tinged with melancholy, just right for your temperament. After breakfast, you enter the entertainment hall, where nobles gather to pretend relaxation. They do not come to win. They come to lose. A chessboard stands ready, your ivory pieces arranged in openings you barely recall. A young lord bows, inviting you to move first. You point at a random pawn, then lean back, gazing idly out the window. Whenever you make your move, your opponent hesitates, then concedes. Not because you're a grandmaster, but because it's an unspoken rule. You always win, and they always applaud in time. In the afternoon, you go hunting. Do not mistake it for plunging into a wild forest. Everything is staged in advance. Your horse trained to kneel until you mount. Hounds bred for generations never to misstep upon royal boots. And a noble falcon taught to seize its quarry, then return to perch lightly upon your gauntlet as if reciting a sonnet. All arranged for your glory. You do not kill the deer. You only draw your bow. Aim casually. Then the valet completes the deed. Yet from the spectator's vantage, you embody power, finesse, and peak efficiency. When you return to court, spotless, you receive praise for bravery as if you wrestled a dragon. Then comes the evening feast, where true entertainment unfolds. The great hall glows with candlelight, flickering over gold-embroidered tapestries, silver goblets, and the expectant faces of your council. You sit at the head of the long table, the crown tilted slightly, your gaze cool yet expectant. The first course arrives, a whole roasted boar, skin crisp and gleaming, an apple lodged in its snout. Next, peacock, yes, peacock, plumed, roasted whole, and arranged to look alive. Its colors so vivid you almost think it might preen. As everyone dines, a troupe of actors enters. They bow low to keep their necks intact, then perform a play. Perhaps a Greek tragedy, perhaps the tale of a peasant daring to love a princess. You watch only half the performance. You saw this version 2 weeks ago. Yet you laugh, not at the drama, but at a clown sneaking behind the actors, feigning a fall, muttering, "I perform better than them." And you cannot help it. When you laugh, they all laugh. Even the actor who forgot his lines, laughing through his dread. When dessert arrives, a honey cake gilded with a thin layer of gold, you signal. A servant unrolls a leather-bound tome, begins to read aloud. Not because you haven't read it, you memorized this epic last year, but because the servant's strange accent makes an old story feel fresh. An epic poem, or the diary of an ancient king, or a forged love letter from a Byzantine princess to your father, all chosen to stave off your boredom. Yet, you remain bored. You nod when the reading ends. A gentle hand clap, less praise than signal that the evening is over. You are escorted to your chamber, bathed in herbal steam, then laid upon a soft furred bed. You do not count sheep. You need not, for you have witnessed too many striving to keep you awake. You close your eyes, then open them again. Entertainment is ceaseless. Every hour, every minute, someone caters to your amusement. But truly, you feel hollow. You turn to the left. Candlelight dances upon the wall. A painter waits outside your door. Tomorrow he must begin your portrait. You sigh. The 10th this year. You close your eyes once more and wonder, will tomorrow bring something new? A play you haven't seen? A novel diversion? A different way to laugh? Or, perhaps, one night where no one watches, no one performs, just you, in silence, and simply a man? You perceive death not as thunder or a tolling bell, but as a familiar shadow slipping into your straw-walled hut, sitting beside you and never leaving. Pain spreads slowly, smoldering like embers crackling in an oven, bit by bit, with no haste. Your breath grows short. Every step across the tiny yard makes your heart drum. You find yourself sitting more often. The wooden chair in the corner, the one you crafted by hand years ago, becomes your resting place, where you stare at the chickens circling as if they understand what is coming. Your children, those same toddlers who once leaped onto your back, begging for rides, now help you each morning. Their hands are as calloused as yours once were. They massage your feet with garlic-infused flax oil, carefully tending you like spring seedlings. You feel gratitude and a strange wonder, because now you are the one being cared for. No physician visits. Your illness has no name. There is no diagnosis, No prescription, no clinic, only dried herbs hanging from the beams, simmered in the black clay pot, and prayers whispered at your ear, repeated like the village's sorrowful lullaby. The bitter aroma of sage and wild marigold mingles with hearth smoke, draping the small room in memories and the unknown. One day, the priest arrives, unannounced. He steps in, leaving muddy footprints on the packed earth, nods to your son, then sits beside you like an old friend. He asks if there is anything left unsaid. You shake your head, not because you claim innocence, who is without sin, but because your life has been simple. No theft, no abandonment. Perhaps once you scolded a dog, once you hid a loaf under your tunic, but surely God understands. So you confess in trembling words, then receive the final rite, His blessing raining over your head like a gentle late spring shower. You die upon your damp straw mattress. No soundtrack, no shaft of light through a window as in storybooks. Only your wife's ragged breaths, the sound of a water dipper clattering to the floor, and a cat's mew somewhere in the yard. Your wife weeps, silently, in trembling waves. Her hand clasps yours, rough yet warm. Your children gather, unsure what to do but to gaze downward at their shoes. Then you exhale your last breath, as if finally resting after a long season of sowing. There is no lavish funeral, no eulogies. Villagers dig your grave behind the church, amid overgrown weeds and weathered headstones bearing no names. If fortune smiles, they place a pine cross at its head. If not, a simple stone marks the spot. No inscriptions. Letters cost money. And you left no wealth, only unfinished tasks and the words, "Don't forget to water the garden in the morning." Your legacy does not lie in history books. It lies in last year's patched roof, still sheltering from rain. In the wooden rake you carved yourself, its handle worn, yet still useful. In the fence, your children now rebuild, stone by stone. And most of all, in your children, who continue to sow seed, to sing the songs you once sang, to tread the very earth you walked all your life. The world presses on. The sun still rises. The seasons still turn. The goose still squawks at strangers. Children chase each other once more in the courtyard, laughter echoing as if no one ever left. The field you plowed last year now waves green with grain, tipping its heads in farewell. Boats still dock on the riverbank. Puppies still nip at each other beneath the apple tree. Nothing seems to change. Yet somewhere, when passers-by spot a straight furrow, a neatly stacked stone, a snugly fitted door frame, they know. Someone once lived here, and lived well. You leave no tombstone, no bronze statue. But your hands, rough, calloused, have imprinted themselves on this land. Not with blood, but with labor. Not with song, but with patience. Not with power, but with love and steadfast presence. And that, in a world quick to forget ordinary souls, is the greatest miracle. If you hear this in the stillness of night, may it not sadden you, but bring you peace. For sometimes you need not be great, need not be remembered by name, only to have truly lived, to have loved, to have sown seeds in soft earth, and when you sleep, to know you remain part of this world in ways you never realized. Your death, King, does not arrive in silence. Impossible. It comes as a ritual rehearsed a lifetime. As your breath falters, courtiers kneel beside your crimson bed. The cleric anoints your brow with oil from trembling fingers. You are not alone, never have been. Someone records each final word you utter, each movement, as though your last exhalations will become tomorrow's history. You lie upon a swan feather mattress. Your hand clenches a golden crucifix, a gift from the Pope. Heavy and cold as the crown you bore all your life, velvet drapes are drawn, light concealed, death demanding privacy. The priest chants, his voice measured as grains falling in an hourglass. No tears fall, only reverent silence. The valet dares not step loudly. Even the click of a shoe would offend. And you? You gaze at the ceiling's fresco of Christ with outstretched arms and wonder silently, does a throne await you up there? News of your passing does not drift. It detonates. A beacon's flare, the great bell tolling your requiem. The fortress bells toll 72 times. Standards are lowered. Black banners hang from balconies to gates. No one laughs. No one raises a voice. Children are ushered indoors. The elderly mumble prayers. The kingdom pauses in organized grief. Your death is a somber symphony, its notes resonating down every street, within every chapel. Your body may not rest in peace. It must be embalmed with cinnamon, resin, amber. It must be robed in a sapphire-embroidered cloak, paired with black leather boots that never knew mud. It must be laid upon an oak bier, beneath a marble vault carved with the royal crest. And there must be sentinels, not to guard, but to bear witness. For even in death, a king stands never truly alone. The funeral is not farewell, it is a proclamation. The king is dead, and now power hovers between these stone walls. Hundreds of priests bear candles, hymns swell beneath soaring arches. Incense drifts along the aisle. The coffin is borne through cobbled streets, slowly, steadily, each step echoing those you once trod, but this time, for the last time. Women weep aloud, men bow their heads. Your desolate steed follows, its saddle draped in black, riderless, a symbol, a void. Your tomb, a marble masterpiece, sleeps deep in the earth, its walls inscribed with Latin verses, austere and resolute. Sculptures portray you as saint and monarch, crown upon your head, sword and law book in hand. Yet those statues hold no memory. They do not recall your fevers, your fear of lightning, your secret midnight bite of cake before vespers. Your legacy shines vast, edicts signed, taxes imposed, white stone castles erected from distant quarries, campaigns waged, gold-forged treaties, sermons on order and loyalty, but also cold ramparts, unheard screams, broken promises. You left no beaten path, no scattered seeds. You left your mark on parchment and a fracture in the dynasty. And then, just as you always knew, the realm marches on, cannot halt. Nobles convene in council chambers, their voices low, but eyes sharp as blades. The air ascends the dais, yet your shadow still cloaks the throne. War erupts soon after, not because you died, but because no one remains to restrain them. Your name echoes in requiems, yet is also penned in dispatches as history's past. Years pass. The cross you kissed rots from someone's hands. Your royal ring is boxed away. Storytellers speak of you as illustration. Once reigned a king, but like all, he too passed. Children grow, forget your name, and the mighty tomb, storm-scarred and moss-covered, fades beneath each season's hush. Ironic, is it not? The peasants you taxed, the widow you blessed, their names are lost. And you, with throne, power, and decree, fade into a chapter flipped past at dusk by sleepy eyes. But perhaps that matters not. For death, whether of king or gatekeeper, wraps its final shroud around every body. No linen of royalty, no crimson velvet, no carved name, no wind-blown script. And the last sleep needs no throne to arrive. So if you hear this as your eyes grow heavy at night, let it pass softly over you. For in the end, no matter who we are or how we live, we all become stories, told to those seeking reason to smile and to find rest. Both the peasant and the king live beneath the same sky. The same moon witnesses their weariness. The same sun scorches their long days. One wakes with calloused hands and an empty stomach. The other opens his eyes to silk and silver. Yet strangely, neither is ever complete. The peasant dreams of a day without worrying over supper, while the king still lies awake within stone walls, surrounded by beautiful lies. They live, they labor, then they die. One leaves tracks in the barren furrow, the other carves his name into gilded decrees. But through countless harvests and generations of monarchs, time erases all. Tombs collapse, names fade, and in the end, only the story remains. If this tale soothes your mind, if your eyes grow heavy, perhaps we have walked the right path. Leave a like, hit subscribe, and share where you're listening from. California, Ohio, or some small town I've never heard of. For each of us, whether king or commoner, seeks only a quiet place to close out a long day. I will return on another night with another story, so you may gently drift into sleep. Good night, and remember, you are not alone under this sky.